What you are about to watch is a segment edited from one of our 4-hour board certification courses. Each segment focuses on an area of governance that board members frequently ask us to explain in more detail. We produce these clips to provide information on demand, giving you the option to revisit key topics whenever you need clarity, reinforcement, or a quick refresher. The video is a discussion for Condominium Association board members that covers the Florida statutes governing the board meeting requirements. This is a copyrighted video by Ardor.
Meeting. So the first thing we're going to do is consider an update from HB 913. And this is a slide off of the HB 913 presentation. So HB 913, effective July 1, 2025, the legislation changed the structure of the board and membership meetings as it relates to any of those that are use Zoom or Teams or anything like that for members to be able to log in and watch, or for board members to be able to log in and participate. So we're just going to do the read the first of all the definition. It came out with a new definition, FS 718-103-33. It means a video conference is a real-time audio and video-based meeting between two or more people in different locations using video-enabled and audio-enabled devices. The notice for any meeting that will be conducted by video conference must have a hyperlink and call-in conference telephone number for unit owners to attend the meeting, and must have a physical location where unit owners can also attend the meeting in person. All meetings conducted by video conference must be recorded, and such recording must be maintained as an official record of the association. So that's all new. So effective July, hopefully any meetings you've had as a board, you've been recording them if you were using Zoom or Teams or anything like that. Then under official records, 718-12, 718-111, 12, A6, and 11. Minutes of the committee meetings have been added to the official records that must be maintained. So as we mentioned earlier, committees must also have, that are subject to the Sunshine Law, must also have minutes. Well, those minutes now have become part of the official records that are necessary for being maintained by the community. All video recordings of the board, member, and committee meetings are official records and must be kept for 1 year. And the accounting records must include all bank statements and ledgers. So this one was just a change to the documents. Also, there were some new director affidavits that were required. And if you want to look into those, you could see the videos that we're going to provide you links for. There's some new affidavits that are required from the board as part of the official records. And then the official records on the website. So a document required to be posted on the website must be posted within 30 days after it is received or created, unless a shorter period is otherwise required. Again, the only variance that's problematic here is when are the minutes created. The minutes really, in the opinion of most boards and legal opinion, is when they're approved. So that could be some period of time greater than 30 days because you have to wait till the next board meeting to approve them. The approved minutes of all board meetings for the past 12 months must be on the website. Video recordings or a hyperlink to the video of all meetings, board member, and committee that are video recorded for the past 12 months must be posted on the website. So first of all, the video recordings themselves or a hyperlink to the recordings have to be on the website for everybody to click into, be able to see the video recordings. The details on that is the video recordings have to be good enough so that people can watch the video, hear what's happening, see what's happening, and otherwise be able to tell what's happening in the meeting. The approved minutes for the board meetings for the past 12 months have to be on the website. Typically, it doesn't hurt to have them longer. I think in most cases, the more information you provide to owners for them to be able to reference, the less questions there are, and the opportunity for misunderstanding diminishes. And then that 30-day deadline. So how is this impacting board meetings? First of all, the video conferencing. A board meeting can be conducted in person or by video conference. The ability to conduct the meeting by speakerphone is also allowed. Board or committee members' participation in a board meeting via telephone, real-time video conferencing, or similar real-time electronic or video communication counts toward quorum, and such member may vote as if physically present. If the board meeting is by video conference, the notice must state that and must include a hyperlink and telephone number as well as the address of a physical location of the meeting where the unit owners can attend in person. The video conference recording is an official record. So you can still conduct a board meeting entirely online. However, and every board member is counted that attends that way as part of quorum. Every board member that attends that way is votes. Those votes are counted. However, you also must have a physical location that owners may attend to be able to see the video and as a result participate. So you could have your management company set up in the office or the community room. None of the board members need to be physically present for that board meeting. And as we'll see as we talk about meetings a little bit more, owners have the ability to speak at every board meeting. So that process still needs to be able to happen if you're using, if all the board members attend by video for a board meeting. Membership meeting, a little different. The annual meeting of the members must be held within 15 miles. That's a change. It used to be 45 miles of the condominium property or within the same county as the condominium property. If a unit owner meeting is conducted via video conference, a unit owner may vote electronically in the manner provided by 718-128, which we're going to spend some time talking about. If the annual meeting is conducted via video conference, a quorum of the board must be physically present at the physical location of the meeting where the owners can attend. The video conference must be recorded and maintained as an official record. So when it comes to membership meetings, you can use the same methods of Zoom or Teams or whatever it might be as video conferencing. However, there has to be a quorum of the board members physically present at the location, provided the owners were provided to attend the meeting. Additionally, if you're attending by video conference, board members' votes don't count toward quorum or voting. So let's just talk about board member meetings in general based on the Florida statutes mentioned there. Board meetings are formal gatherings of the board to conduct association business. The frequency, well, the statute says as often as is necessary to conduct association business. But for residential condominium associations with more than 10 units, the Board of Administration is required to meet at least once each quarter. So you are required as a board, if you have 10 or more units, to meet every quarter. Additionally, member participation, at least 4 times each year. The meeting agenda must include an opportunity for members to ask questions of the board and comment on non-agenda board items or non-agenda items, board meeting items. So 4 times a year, or at least once a quarter, board has to meet, and at least 4 times a year, that meeting has to include an agenda item that allows for open comments by board members. As we're going to see, they also have the right to participate in board meetings on agenda items. Probably should realign the slides. Notice requirements for board meetings. It's at least 48 hours in advance. They have to be posted on the property. The board meeting notice has to contain all agenda items in a specificity. In other words, it needs to be specific enough so that an owner can read it, understand what's going to be talked about, and decide if they want to be there to talk about or comment on that issue. So, additionally, if you're voting on a contract or other item that's going to be discussed, those things also have to be posted as part of that meeting agenda. If there's a special assessment or a rule change that's being proposed, like you're changing the rules and regulations of the community, it's a 14-day notice requirement. That notice has to be mailed, hand delivered, or electronically transmitted to owners who have opted into e-notices, must be posted on the property 14 days in advance, must be on the website 14 days in advance. And again, it needs to contain the details of what's being discussed thoroughly enough for owners to understand and be able to attend the meeting to comment about them. Additionally, if it's a rule change, the rule change needs to be, the document changing the rule needs to be attached. If it's an amendment or anything else, whatever is being changed has to be part of that notice. So owner participation. So this is true of every board meeting. Owners are allowed to attend every board meeting except those that involve personnel matters or attorney-client privilege. Otherwise, they're allowed to attend every meeting. They are allowed to tape record or videotape every meeting. Every owner is allowed to speak on all designated agenda items. That means they can speak on every agenda item before a vote takes place. However, they don't have the right to speak on non-agenda items unless there's a policy by the board. So remember we said 4 times a year they can speak on anything, and you have to include that as part of the agenda. Well, for every board meeting, owners have the right to speak about every agenda item, and that's a right that you have to honor. Now, while owners have that right to speak, the board doesn't have a statutory requirement to respond. So if they challenge you or ask you a question and you don't have the answer or don't want to answer for any reason, you are not required to respond according to statute. Additionally, you are allowed by statute to establish reasonable rules for those period of owner comments. So in most cases, it involves putting a time limit on each owner's ability to comment, the manner they speak, the order they comment. You could require sign-in sheets in advance of the meeting. So all of those things in creating a policy that allows order for those member comments that are allowed at every meeting on every agenda item. And then, as we mentioned, there are the requirements for the interactive board meetings. That amendment was July 1, 2024, and that's the one that says 4 times a year the meetings have to allow owners to talk about anything they want to related to the operations of the community. And again, you have the ability as a board to establish reasonable rules to make sure everybody, this whole open comment period doesn't get out of control or doesn't become a situation where people are attacking or arguing with each other. Calling it a fair participation policy is a common way of setting that up. So every board meeting, they can comment on every agenda item. 4 board meetings a year, you have to create an agenda item that says open owner discussion or general owner Q&A, and then they have this right to talk about anything they want to talk about related to the operations of the community. So quick, really rundown here, regular board meetings, non-emergency, period of notice, 48 hours, has to be conspicuously posted on the condominium property, needs to include all of the attending information and specific agenda items and any supporting documentation related to that. If there's a discussion about a special assessment or a rule change, 14 days in advance, it has to be mail delivered or emailed and also conspicuously posted 14 days in advance, also on the website in both cases. And it needs to include all of the details related to the agenda items. Emergency board meetings, as reasonable and practical based on the situation. A budget meeting, at least 14 days in advance. It needs to be mail delivered or emailed, posted conspicuously, must also contain the budget. And there's a new caveat that came out related to HB 913. It's just referenced here in the latter part of the notice content requirements. If applicable, notice that the budget exceeds 115% increase and that there's going to be a right to vote on a substitute budget. So what HB 913 did was change the process for condominium associations if the budget from one year to the next is exceeding 115%. The budget calculation excludes certain things like your SIRS, your reserves, your insurance premiums, replacement, your R&R, reserve replacements. But if that base budget is going to go up greater than 115%, statute used to say that the members could present an alternative budget. It has been changed now. Now, the board, at the same time they send out the notice of the budget, if it increases in excess of 115%, they also have to send out, they have to create and send a substitute budget that does not include discretionary expenditures that are not required in the budget. Now, I'm not sure how that's possible, but that's the statute. The substitute budget must be proposed at the budget adoption meeting before the adoption of the board's initial proposed budget. Copies of both budgets must be included in the 14-day mailed and posted notice of the meeting. Unit owners must consider and may adopt the substitute budget by a majority of all unit owners. If the unit owners do not adopt the substitute budget, then the board may adopt its initially proposed budget. That's the wording of the statute. Now, that creates a little bit of a conundrum. It conflates 2 different types of meetings. Members vote at a member meeting, board members vote at board meetings. So you can adopt a budget as a board. However, if it's going to be above 115%, you're going to have a meeting in advance of the board meeting to adopt the budget that has this alternative budget, and that gives members an opportunity to vote on the alternative budget. So it's much like an election. If there's an annual election, you have a members meeting, and then immediately after you have a board meeting that appoints the executives. It's going to be like that. So you have a members meeting to begin with. If there is a majority of members that vote for the alternative budget, you can't vote on the new budget. But if there aren't a majority of the members during the members meeting that vote to adopt the alternative budget, then you can move forward at your board meeting following to adopt the budget as you proposed it. I know it's a little confusing, but that's how in a practical sense, you can comply with the statute. Just a quick sample association board meeting agenda. If you need that help, all the details about where it's being held and so forth. The call to order, you need to confirm a quorum, confirm the proper notice of the meeting, approval of the prior meeting minutes, and then moving forward, you may have reports of officers and committees. So your different committees may be reporting to the board in front of the members and owners present. Then unfinished business. Used to be you could just put the words unfinished business. You can't do that anymore. You have to put the details of what that unfinished business is that you'll be discussing. And then new business, you have to put the new business, the details of all the new business that you'll be discussing. And you cannot vote on or discuss anything that's not included in the agenda. In the case of those open forum meetings, that would be another agenda item, and then adjournment. Robert's Rules of Order are the common way that you can appoint you can propose a resolution, you can approve a resolution as a board. So, but what we're not doing is using full parliamentary procedure in board meetings. So it's a modified Robert's Rules of Order. Basically, here are some sample pieces of that Robert's Rules of Order that are applicable. You may say, for instance, you're beginning to consider one of the resolutions. That calls for a move to begin that discussion. You need a second. And then in the case of the owner comments, recognize comments from the floor, allow the owners to have their comments, then move to debate. That's the discussion for the board. And then finally vote. You can have the vote verbally, you can have it by show of hands, whatever you might choose to do that. If during the discussion of a resolution, you realize there's not adequate language or you need to change some of the language, you can move to amend it at that time and then indicate that you would like to amend the motion or resolution with the following language and then start moving it through the process again and with the amended language and take it to a vote. And adjourning the meeting is a simple I move to adjourn. If you want to put something and consider something later, you don't want to finish discussing it at that meeting, you can move to table that item. So just some basic, reasonable Robert's Rules of Order is all that's necessary to establish the procedures for the appropriate procedures legally for the board meeting.
You done?
Yes.
It is 3:00.
I've got 2 slides left on this one, I think. Let me see. Nope, too many. All right, we'll take a break. We're
Sounds
taking
good.
a break at board meeting minutes, and we will pick it back up there. Okay, everyone, we're back again, and we were up to the meeting minutes. Basically, the thing to remember about meeting minutes, it's all about the actionable items. It's not a narrative of everything that took place, at what everybody said. So basically, you identify the meeting, who called it to order, the roll call or attendance, the quorum was matched, the proof of notice, who's certifying proof of notice, the approval of the previous minutes, and of course, those have to be attached then to the meeting minutes, current meeting minutes. The agenda items and the business that was conducted include details about if a motion was passed, who voted positively and who voted negatively, those sort of things. The votes taken, owner participation. Basically, you don't have to run a dialogue on that, but again, you have to demonstrate in the minutes that you complied with the statutory requirement. So you may say, 5 owners stood up and spoke positively about the issue. Just some brief comment that indicates that you include in the minutes that indicates you did indeed follow the statutory requirements. Any reports or attachments that were related to the meeting, any special topics that had to be covered, and then who and how it was adjourned. When it comes to making decisions, it's pardon me, you're required to make every decision at a board meeting. You can't make decisions in casual conversation, via email and text messages to each other, by polling of each other. You can't make decisions outside of a properly noticed meeting. And so, and sometimes people say, well, if all the board members get together, you can't talk about the business of the association. Well, it's not necessarily true, but what you can't do is make any decisions about it. So we've included a little slide about board discussion versus board decision. Board discussion, board members can talk about the issues of the community, observations, concerns, new ideas at any time, in person, by phone, or individually. They can ask the management company and to look into something, report facts back, or prepare recommendations. They are not committing the association to any action, expenditure, or providing any official direction in those cases. Discussion informs and explores, but does not direct. You can do all of that. If you weren't able to do that, how would you ever be able to conduct the business of the community? What has to happen, though, related to any of those things, is once it turns to a decision, we are going to do this. We're going to sign this. This is how we're handling this situation. That has to be done at a meeting. So a decision occurs when a majority of the board votes in favor of a direction or action. It requires a properly noticed board meeting, an agenda identifying the decision item, and a quorum that is present to vote on, and of course, positive votes. Everybody voting or the majority voting to approve it. Decisions commit the association to an action, cost, or a policy. Therefore, they must happen in a properly noticed board meeting. So if the board has already voted in a noticed meeting to approve something, then carrying out that decision is not a new decision. It's execution of an existing one. So the reason we say that is like you voted a board meeting to uh, sign a new contract with a landscaping company, and the next thing you do is directing the management company to get the contract put together for that item. You're not directing a new item, you're just directing the continuance or the execution of that item that has already been discussed. So when you take an action, there are a couple of things. It has to be traceable back to a board decision to be able to say it's not a new transaction, trace it back, and it can't make any alterations or adjustments to what was approved. So in the case if you're doing a contract for landscaping and you're saying, okay, let's sign the contract that we discussed, and at the last minute, the landscaper says, you know what, if you